Okay, this problem is a little more complex. We have a radical, a square root on both sides, both of which have the variable inside of them. Both radicals are by themselves other than a coefficient right here. We're going to go ahead and square both sides of the equation. So now I've got the square root of 10x minus 8 squared equals 3 times the square root of x squared. Okay, when I square this, what happens? Well, anything inside of the square root, the square and the square root just cancel out, and it remains as it was inside. Let me fix that, make it a little more legible. 10x minus 8 on this side. Over here we have something that's outside of the square root. We need to actually square it. So we have now 3 squared, well, let me undo that, which is 9. And then the square root of x squared, that becomes x. So we get 9x over here. This 3 we had to square to get the 9, and the square root of x we squared to get our x. So now, we need to get all of our variables on the same side. I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides of the equation. And that'll give me x minus 8 equals 0. I'll add 8 to both sides. And that'll give me x equals 8. Now, of course, we need to plug this back in to the original equation to make sure it works. So let's go back here. I now have the square root of 10 times 8 minus 8 equals 3 times the square root of 8. Ooh, interesting, okay. So now when I work this out, what happens? I've got 80 minus 8, and the square root of that whole thing equals 3 times the square root of 8. So 80 minus 8 gives me 72. So I've got the square root of 72 equals 3 times the square root of 8. It looks like we have a couple of radicals here that we're going to have to simplify. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. First, let's factor the 72. And when we do so, I'm going to get 2 times 36, 2 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 3. And I'll go ahead and circle. Okay, it's not liking that. Circle the primes here. And over here, I'll factor this one. And I've got 2 times 4, 2 times 2. I'll circle my primes. And then I'm going to scoot this down the page. And let's go ahead and simplify this. So, I have a perfect square right here and a perfect square right here. And in this one, I have a perfect square right here. So let's see, the square root of this is 2, the square root of this is 3. So on this side of the equation, and this right here is going to be left inside of the radical. I've got the square root of 2 there. So over here, I'm going to have 2 times 6, or 2 times 3, which is 6, times the square root of 2. And on the other side of the equation, I have, what here? Okay, so the square root of that is 2, and then left, right, sorry, let me fix that. Trying to reach too far. And then this one is still inside the radical, so it's the square root of 2. So over here, I'm going to have 3 times 2, which is 6, times the square root of 2. And yes, it checks.